We now move on to the last part of the chapter supply, that is movement and shift of the supply curve. Now here we have either a movement of the supply curve or we have a shift of the supply curve. In case of movement, we either have an expansion or extension of supply or we have a contraction of supply. Now what is expansion of supply? Expansion of supply means, let me first show you the supply curve which is positively sloped. Suppose S1, S1. Suppose the initial point is A where price is P1 and quantity supplied is Q1. So here we are taking quantity supplied and here we are taking price. So suppose the initial point is A and now price increases from P1 to P2. Thereby the point shifts from A to B. This movement, upward movement along the same supply curve S1, S1 is called the expansion or extension of supply. See here, with increase in price from P1 to P2, the quantity supplied has increased from Q1 to Q2. Note here I am saying that quantity supplied has increased, not supply. Quantity supplied has increased due to increase in price, other factors affecting supply remaining constant. So what is expansion or extension of supply? When quantity supply increases due to increase in the own price of the commodity, other factors affecting supply remaining constant, that is ceteris paribus, then we call it a situation of expansion or extension of supply where there is an upward movement along the same supply curve. Whereas, what will be shift? In case of shift, we have either increase in supply or decrease in supply. Let me first show you the increase in supply. Again here I measure price and I measure here supply. This is the origin, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. Even here this is x-axis, this is y-axis and origin. So here you see, suppose this is the initial supply curve S1, S1. And this was the supply Q1. Now price remaining same at P bar, suppose technology of production improves. We all know that technology is a factor affecting supply. If there is improvement in technology, supply will increase and the supply curve shifts rightward, say to S2, S2. So what happens? See, at same price, now supply increases from Q1 to Q2. And this increase in supply is not due to change in the own price. It is remaining the same. Here, other factors affecting supply has changed and that is why the supply curve has shifted to the right. This arrow is a must. This is called increase in supply. So increase in supply is brought about by changes in some other factors affecting supply but not price. Again, we can show you the contraction of supply. What is contraction of supply? Means when quantity supplied falls due to fall in the price of the commodity, other factors remaining constant. So again we can show here we are measuring price, here we are measuring quantity supplied, say QS, I am writing in short. Again I am drawing a supply curve, say S0, S0. Initial point is A and then suppose the next point is B. Now initially it was at P1 when quantity supplied is Q1. Now suppose price falls to P2. So you see there is a movement along the supply curve but downward movement from A to B, and quantity supplied falls to Q2. And this fall in quantity supplied due to the fall in the own price of the commodity, other factors remaining constant, is called the contraction or the fall in quantity supplied. Here this was extension, here this is contraction. So both extension and contraction is brought about by change in the own price of the commodity. Either we have an upward movement along the supply curve, which we call extension, or we have a downward movement along the same supply curve, which is called the contraction. Other factors remaining constant. And in case of shift, we have either increase in supply or we can have decrease in supply. Decrease in supply. So now again here price, here supply, origin, x-axis, y-axis. Price remaining unchanged. Suppose this is the initial supply curve, S2, and this was the initial quantity, say Q2. Yes, supply, initial supply. Now suppose cost of production increases. That is, say input price increases. If input price increases, cost of supply will increase. Thereby the producers now will be demotivated to supply more and hence supply will decrease. This will lead to a leftward shift of the supply curve, say S3. This is indicated by the leftward arrow. So what happens, you see, supply falls to Q3. And this fall in supply is not due to price is fixed. It is due to some other factors affecting supply. So we came to know that shift of the supply curve is brought about by some other factors affecting supply but not price. Here we can have either a rightward shift of the supply curve, which we call increase in supply, or we can have a leftward shift of the supply curve, which is called the decrease in supply. This is the basic difference between movement and shift of the supply curve.